Hello again, my friends. Today we're going to be making some more glitch art using a technique called data bending with a tool called Audacity to make images like the one you see here. I hope you'll follow along at home with your own tools, and I'm going to be working right here with just a few simple tools on my desktop. So why don't you join me? Bob Ross. I'm trying to do a Bob Ross impression. I'm not good at impressions. But anyway, this is where we were last time. I used HexFiend and I edited this image file until it turned into something like this. Pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. But let's try some things now with a very different technique called, not different technique, but it's just a different tool using a different tool to mess with an image. And that's what we're doing here. We're messing with images, changing stuff about them at a code level to see what happens and appreciate the results. If we like what we see, then that's great. If not, we just try something else. It's all about whatever you feel happiest with, whatever makes you happy. You're the artist. So let's open up Audacity and see what we've got. Audacity is kind of like GIMP, and it's taking its time for some reason. I'm going to quit Audacity because maybe it was already running. Here it goes. So Audacity is kind of like GIMP in the sense that it's free, it's open source, and people use it for all kinds of things. It is very large, so I'm going to make it smaller. It is also a bit awkward to work with at first, and it's definitely a little bit rougher in some ways than tools like GarageBand or Logic Pro or something. But it's still pretty decent, and if you just need to do a few quick edits and even some fancier edits, it's really fine for most people's purposes. So it is good. It is not, however, meant for working with images like we're going to do today. So we have to do a few things with Audacity that are kind of unusual to make it actually work. And I can show you what to do there. So we're going to be importing that image that we've been working on as a sound file. And so we have to kind of trick it into thinking of that as sound. So we have to import it first. We're not going to open it, because if we open it, it'll be like, oh, I don't know what that is. So we have to import it as raw data. We'll go down here to select the raw data option. If you're using Audacity with a slightly different interface, maybe a different version, some of these options might look a little different. But just look for raw data, and then look for the file that you want to work on. Remember, it's called original.bmp in this case. Working with Audacity, since I'm importing the data and then working with it and then exporting it, I don't need to make a new copy of this file yet. But every time I export it, I'm going to make sure to name those different things so I keep track of those. So I open it like this. Now here's something important. You do have to choose the right kind of encoding, which is none. We don't want any encoding to happen. We don't want it to try to do anything to this. We don't want it to think of this as encoded or using a codec. We just want this to be raw data. So the way that we do that is with the ULaw option. I think ALaw also works, but I've just been using ULaw. From what I've read, you can use either and it doesn't make a difference, but I've just been using ULaw, and since it some things you do with glitch art, they'll break it. I'm kind of just nervous about changing my technique around too much, so I want to stick with what I know works, and that's ULaw right now. So ULaw, and then everything else should be fine here. Import that, and now we can see that image as a data file. As an audio file, and it has a waveform. We could actually listen to it if we wanted to. It sounds terrible, but it is. I'll just play a little bit of it. All right, there's something strange there. The grinding noise is okay, but like the just a high-pitched squeal that's really unpleasant. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just mute this just in case I accidentally do that again and play it. But this is the file now. Now, if you remember, the bitmap file does have a header. So one of the things that we need to be careful about when we start making changes to the audio here is we don't want to mess with the header. So any of the effects that I'm going to apply it to some parts of the file after the header. So it's about a second in, I think, on this view of it, but we'll see what happens. So basically, with Audacity, we could do some cutting and pasting like we've been doing with HexEdit. We don't have to. You don't need Audacity for that. You could use HexEdit for that. But instead, what we have in Audacity is this whole series of audio effects, things like distortion and reverb and echo, equilibrium, EQ stuff, fading in and out, lots of interesting different techniques that you would normally apply to an audio editing context. In this case, though, we're going to be doing them with images and seeing what happens. In some cases, when I've been doing this, I found that some effects they'll break the file beyond use, and I'm not sure why. But a few of these do have pretty consistent good results. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to show you those. One of them that I found useful is echo. Echo seems to work pretty well. You can change the parameters here, but I'll just start with this one and then see how it looks and then go from there if it looks weird. Okay, great. So as you can see, the waveform did change quite a bit where it was affected. I don't know if you saw, by the way, the part that you affect is you click and drag across the middle to select a part of the audio, and then that's the part that is going to apply the effects, to. Okay, so I didn't touch the end of the file, which should be the top of the image, and I also started a little bit into the image, so you should still see a band of the original at the top and the bottom, but let's see. So to export this, again, Audacity wants this to be an audio file, so we have to treat it as raw data. And then it's raw data that we know is an image file, so we have to kind of bypass the compression things that Audacity wants to do. So when you export it, you should have an option. You should have an option to choose other compressed files, or basically just to not choose any of these types of compression that they have here. And then under options, make sure that you select raw or headerless, so it doesn't add a file codec header on top of the file as it exports it, because that would make it impossible to read it as an image. It'll overwrite or get in front of the bitmap header in this case. So don't choose any of these. Look for raw, and in parentheses it says headerless, and just say OK, and then save, and then see what you get. So perhaps that worked. I didn't have my window open, but let's see. Oh, I forgot to name this in a way that makes sense. It came out here as original.raw, but I want to make sure to name this in a way that helps me remember what I just did. So I'm going to say that this is October Audacity echo, and then instead of .raw, I'm going to call it .bmp. Yes, I do mean to do that, and let's see if it'll open. Oh no, it didn't work. Okay, let's try this again. Let me try to export this again and see if I just need to try that process again. So let's see, I'm going to call it this file name, options, headerless, okay. Save as that. Do I want to do that? Yes. Do I want to replace that one? Yes. No metadata. Let's see. Oh, it's not working. It says it's damaged. Well, this worked before, but let me see if sometimes whenever preview can't access it, sometimes GIMP can still make sense of it. Let's see if GIMP can do anything with it. No, still, okay. It says it's not a valid BMP file. Wow, okay, so I think maybe I got too much of the header in there, or I did something else. So let me kind of reset this back to where we were and try again. This is actually good because this is something definitely that you'll run into if you do much of this. So go back to raw data. I'm going to go to get my image again, my original.bmp. Make sure I set ulaw here. Everything else is fine. Import it. Fine. Okay. I'm going to work with a smaller section of the file now and see if that makes a difference. You see how I selected that. And now I'm going to add echo to that part of it. This is staying away from the header, so I'm well ahead of the header at this point. So I shouldn't be messing with that at all. You can still see it made a pretty visible change there in the middle. And let's try to export it now. Export audio, other compressed options, original, but we don't want that, we want raw. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I did this before, but I do need to select ulaw on the export method. I don't know if I did that last time. I guess I can watch the video and see. So raw, headerless, keep switching back to that, and then ulaw as my option there. Okay, so maybe this will work this time. I'm going to select that same file to overwrite the one that I messed up on, and let's see if this looks usable. Oh, I have a feeling this was going to work. Let's find out. Hey, it works. Great. So you can see the part of the file that I edited was pretty small. It's this section here. Got to get my hands right. Corresponds to kind of this section on the image that you can kind of see behind it. So it's kind of this part is kind of the middle, and you can see sort of how far along in the file that is. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that effect. But we have a lot more options. So let's see. Now that we have our workflow figured out and we can understand what we're doing, let's try getting, nope, I don't want to play it. Let's get a bigger chunk this time. And let's try a different effect. Let's try, I have had pretty good results with the phaser. Let me try the phaser. Phaser, 2 stages, dry, wet. I don't really know what a lot of these are. Let's just make that higher and see what happens. I don't know what this is going to do. Oh, wow, okay. A really dramatic effect now on the waveform, and you can see all the bumps in it. That's the phase sound, the phaser sound moving in and out, left and right in terms of the stereo sound. So that's interesting. Well, let's see what it does to the image. We'll export it again, and I will double check my options are raw and ULAW. Good. So now I'm going to say this is October. Audacity is my technique, and phaser.bmp. And let's see what this does. Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. I do like that a lot. I like especially, this image originally has some interesting like horizontal lines going with the boards and the bridge, and then some vertical lines with the walls and then the trees. So I think glitch techniques that pick up that horizontal banding or do different types of horizontal banding are pretty interesting. So I'm pretty happy with that. I like that. Let me do another one. So I'm going to get rid of that one. And in fact, one thing I want to try is I want to try to glitch different parts of the image in different ways. I really like the way that the banding works on the bridge. So that's the bottom of the image, which should be this sort of first part. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a phaser up to about here, let's say. And where was that? Phaser. And I'm going to make that a little more subtle. And then for this second part, I'm going to, well, if I can get it. For the second part, or the rest of the image, I'm going to try a different effect. I'm going to try a reverb on this part and see what happens. Again, I'm just going to leave the default settings. The visual effect on this is a bit more subtle, but I don't know what it's going to do to the image. Let's find out. So this is now October, Audacity, phaser reverb.bmp. Let's see what it looks like. Yes, nothing. And there's my new file. Let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice. I like that a lot. So you can see I've got the same kind of phaser effect here, and I got it just about right. I was trying to hit that horizon line, and I think I got it. And now you can see the bridge looks like it's on fire. It looks like there's some kind of alien rain coming down, or maybe the rainbow bridge from Asgard is coming down. Pretty cool. I'm liking that a lot, actually. So this makes me, happy. This is what you have to do with art. You have to wait until you find something that kind of gives you that punch in the gut. And this is great. I'm really digging this one. So I'm going to share this one, and I don't know. I mean, part of the fun of this image too, I guess, is the fact that you have the original to compare it to. So maybe that's part of my appreciation of it. Putting these two side by side, I think, certainly helps understand why the glitched version is so interesting. But overall, I think it's pretty good. I think this is, maybe it's a bit much. I guess maybe it is a bit kind of harsh and chaotic, but I guess that's the aesthetic I'm going for. I don't know. I like it. That's the bottom line. That's the thing that makes the most sense to me. Okay, so that's data bending with Audacity. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope that was helpful. In the next episode of this series, I'm going to take a look at some more data bending techniques, but with text edit. Thanks.